hairdo undone. Hey, today we are going to be talking about lightening services, and the lovely Suzanne has joined me because I don't do hair and she knows the most. So we've got a lot of lightening services, highlighting things to talk about, so let's go. Okay, so like I said, we're talking about lightening hair. The first one we're going to talk about a few different types, but the first one we're going to talk about is highlighting, just like your generic, normal, everyday highlights, Suzanne. So what are those?
All right, highlights. Highlights will always be in. All right, people are always going to want to have an overall blonde look to their hair. They like the look of highlights because it gives the highs and the lows, so you get this dimension. Yep. Your stylist should be picking up the previous highlights and simply touching up the regrowth. They should not be overlapping the old highlights. They should not be highlighting the new hair that hasn't been highlighted. They should always be picking up what they've done and touching up. When you overlap, you create damage, breakage. When you pick up new pieces every time, after a while, the hair's gonna look solid blonde. You're not gonna have that dimension anymore. You've lost your highs and lows because you've highlighted them all.
Yeah, and then stylists have to go in with a low light to break that up.
That's right, so stylists will go in and they'll paint on a low light to fix their own mistake, which shouldn't have happened in the first place.
Right.
Now, there's always exceptions. There's always exceptions, you guys, because sometimes a client, you're going to change your mind. You're going to want a different pattern. We're going to have to put some color in to change the pattern.
Yep.
You might have hair that's going gray. You might not have enough of your own color to create the lows. Your natural color might be too light. So yes, we have to help create the lows.
So the next one we're going to talk about, which kind of alludes to what you were saying about damage and overlapping, are baby lights, which are kind of been super popular the last few years because they look super cute. So kind of talk about what a baby light is.
All right. Basically, a baby light is a really teeny tiny highlight in its true form. The difference with the two is when we do a full head of baby lights, you're going to have 2 to 3 times more foils than you have a highlight. You know, you're going to have to highlight a lot more pieces of hair to create as much blonde as you want, which is going to increase the price of your service because you are adding so many more foils. The downside, now baby lights, when you first do baby lights, they look amazing. It is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. But there's a downside to baby lights because they're really hard to touch up. The highlight is so teeny and so small that you can't pick up the previous lighting pieces. Yeah. It's almost impossible to do. And so by baby lighting again and again and again, you're overlapping. You're picking up pieces that you've already done and they're being overlapped too many times, which eventually is just going to lead to the hair becoming so angry that it does break off.
Break off, fall out, whatever it may be.
Yeah, beautiful technique, can't be done over and over and over again. Your hair just can't handle it.
Yeah. All right, and the last one, which has kind of been the more popular thing, if you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, the technique that really has kind of transformed how we view highlighting is like this ombre balayage idea, skill. So what is those specifically? And this is a loaded question because there's a lot of different nuances to this. So Suzanne's just going to go over just a few things about ombre and balayage that you may need to know when walking in for that service or upkeep on that.
Okay. Ombre and balayage, they're the most misunderstood and confused services. Ombre literally means shaded. It means that you're taking one color and gradually going into another color. That is ombre. So ombre is actually a look. The techniques used to achieve an ombre look normally are a balayage technique. Now, original balayage technique is a French balayage. And French balayage just literally means that you are going to paint literally onto the hair, just with your hand, to create the custom color that you want to do.
Now, it doesn't lighten very well when you do it this way, right? Like, it doesn't lift very high.
A French balayage, because it is just sitting there open in the air, once the lightener dries, you're done. That's as high as you're going to get. So the darker the hair, the less you're going to get the lift. They're more ideal for people who are natural blondes. We at Hairdo, we actually incorporate more of an American balayage. And American balayage is more of a hybrid service. It kind of connects the foils and the French balayage together. So we use foils on our technique most of the time. We still do the custom color. We still hand paint it and customize it to the look that our client wants, but we encapsulate that look in foils. By doing that, it allows us to push that a little bit harder, push it a little bit lighter, get a brighter effect. which is what most clients are wanting. The pictures they're bringing in are light, and they like that contrast. They like to see the really, really bright ends.
Well, ombres and balayages, they can be a little bit more expensive. It's a little bit of a longer time commitment.
Longer time commitment.
But it's a lower upkeep. You know, you get those highlights and baby lights, you've got to come in because that regrowth is going to happen, and you need to get that touched up so it still looks beautiful. So, what do people need to know in between getting their highlighting service done before they come in the next time they get it touched up, whether it's highlights or an ombre?
All right, ombres, balayage, whatever you guys want to refer to them as. They do. Once you get one done, we've got clients that sometimes go a year in between having them done. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to do anything while you're waiting for your color to be touched up.
That's still gross.
That's not okay. You know, when we do a lightening service like that, we've lightened your hair. Sometimes we've lightened every single solitary piece of your hair. It is no longer in its nice, healthy, shiny, soft state. So you need to realize that we're compromising your hair. Like we're being, you know, there's some aggressive procedures that we can do on your hair. And if you go home and you leave your hair in that compromised state and don't do anything about it, it's going to get more compromised. Yeah. I mean, you're going to blow dry your hair. You're going to brush your hair. You're going to
go swimming.
But you have to take care of this hair. So because it is now compromised, you've got to do whatever you can to help make it happy. Now we use Olaplex. We're big Olaplex users. We have it.
And we put that in the color, right?
We put it in every one of our color services.
Yeah.
And that does help. That does help to minimize the damage that's going to be done, but there's still damage.
Yeah.
It's still in a compromised state. We recommend that you come in at least every 10 to 12 weeks to come in for another Olaplex treatment. You know, Olaplex has a take-home treatment.
Yeah.
And it's fabulous for our clients. We'll take that home and use it once a week because it really helps prepare their hair for the next time they want to have the service done again. Another thing, because your hair is going to be a little bit drier, it's going to be a little more damaged, you're going to probably want to switch up your products.
Yeah, so like especially if you're noticing it, like you get the highlights done and you stay with your product regimen, like, and you're like, nothing's really happening, you know, that might be a time to go to your stylist and be like, hey, this is the problem I'm having. What am I supposed to do about it? Now, like Suzanne said, we suggest Olaplex. We also use Paul Mitchell's Care Triplex. If your stylist, wherever the salon is that you're going, they should be also suggesting like a keratin either service or a take-home salon grade product.
You brought up Care Triplex. Now, Care Triplex is awesome because the results of Care Triplex are immediate. For those of you who want immediate gratification, a Care Triplex makes your hair feel so amazing from the get-go. It's a procedure that lasts about 6 weeks. Then it doesn't need to be done again, but it gives you a layer of protection. It gives you a layer of strength. And then we talked on the Olaplex number 3 is a take-home treatment. You can, you know, when we do a lightening service, it actually breaks the bonds in your hair that keep it strong.
Yeah.
And so Olaplex actually reforms those bonds.
Yeah.
It takes slower, and over time you have to keep doing it. Where the Care Triplex, you immediately feel better, but it's not as long lasting.
Right.
So they're both amazing procedures. So if you need that instant gratification, do a Care Triplex and take home Olaplex number 3. You're in a better bet.
Yeah,
now, the other thing you need to do to take care of your hair is you have to trim it. We have so many people who do these huge blonde projects, and then we see them again in 9 months, and their ends are just destroyed. They think that they can't trim their hair because they want it to grow, but you've compromised your hair. Your hair's angry now.
Yeah.
And if you start to let the hair get worse and you start to get split ends, well, those splits are going to like travel up your hair, create a weak spot, and they're going to break where that weak spot is, which is way shorter than had we just trimmed off that little ½ inch.
Yeah.
So don't go without trims.
And that goes for people who aren't just with blonde hair. Like if you're wanting to grow your hair out, like remember, cutting your hair keeps it healthy to grow more nicely.
I know. It's something that's hard for people to grasp because they think, I need it to grow, I can't cut it. But if you don't at least take off the damaged ends, you are going to end up with a chemical haircut that's going to happen on its own that we had nothing to do. I mean, it's going to start to break. The other thing that I recommend on ombres and highlights, baby lights, whatever your method of choice for being blonde is to come in for toner. You know, toners, they're not permanent color. Colors last, 6 weeks. You're going to get some fadage. Toners, same thing. You're going to get a good 6, if you don't shampoo very often, 8 weeks out of it. It's going to start to fade out. Yeah. If you want that blonde always to look great, you want to come in for a toner in between. Yeah. So we always tell our clients, we want to see you in 10 to 12 weeks for a toner, an Olaplex treatment, and a trim.
Yeah.
And that is by far the best thing you could be doing to take care of your hair and to keep it in
especially
condition.
Especially if you're going to be spending all that time and money on like a good service. You want to keep that up, and you don't want it to have to down the road ignore your hair and it just not be the way you want it to be, feel the way you want it to feel, and we want to make sure that that's done. So keep up with that. If you guys have any questions about a blonding service or anything that you found in this video that we didn't clearly go over, leave a comment below. Ask us a few questions. We are more than happy to come on and clarify a few things.
We'll respond to your questions.
We will. We will. Thank you so much for spending a couple minutes with us, and make it a great hair day.
Bye.